Welcome to the Teacher Thoughts Podcast. I'm your host, Abby Hernandez. Teacher thoughts can be groundbreaking. Teacher thoughts can be tiring. And the good news is, teacher thoughts can be changed. I don't claim to be a mental health expert. I'm just an educator, and I'll be using this space to synthesize what I have learned from my self-help research in a way that will help you. This is episode 7. Welcome back. If this is your first time on the podcast, we are so glad you've joined us. I know we've had a lot more interaction on Facebook and Instagram the past few weeks. So if you have finally found us, we are so glad you're joining us. I wanted to let you know my purpose for this podcast is to be a place to provide encouragement and guidance for emotionally drained teachers and human beings. When I first started this out, I really just wanted to share all of the things that I had learned, and I hope that you are finding this content valuable. But as we move forward in 2021, I have a bigger vision. Teacher Thoughts is going to begin to grow, and it's going to be kind of one step at a time. But by the end of 2021, my hope is to create a community of educators who want brighter futures and are willing to come together to support each other through all of the possible changes that we are going to make happen for ourselves, to create, share, and achieve visions, cheering each other on every step of the way. So if you are down for that, if you are interested in that, stay tuned, follow the podcast. Lots and lots of changes are probably going to occur over the summer, but I will be putting out weekly episodes until then. My goal is for all of those to be on Thursdays. So that's just what we're doing moving forward. I have great exciting expectations for what is to come with Teacher Thoughts, and I'm glad you're along for the ride. So if you've listened to my past podcasts, you've kind of figured out now that I exaggerate to prove a point. So we're starting out that way again today. I don't know why. I always think imagine that you are this. Last time we were servers in a restaurant. Today, we are going to imagine that you work as a trash collector. If you are now a teacher and you have actually had this job before, I think that's pretty cool, and I'd love to hear your story of the transition. But I'm guessing that most of us as teachers have not worked as trash collectors before. Today, just in our minds, you are going to work and you have the job of collecting the trash for a certain amount of neighborhoods. And every day on your way to work, you think, oh my gosh, I will never collect all of the trash. I can't believe this. This is so exhausting. I'm never going to collect all of the trash. There's so much trash in the world. People are constantly making trash. I'm never going to be able to do it all. If that was your job every day, and every day when you showed up to work, you were thinking about how you would never get it all done. You would never finish it all. How exhausting would that be? And it wouldn't really make sense, right? Because obviously, that's what people do. People make trash. What trash collectors do is they go and collect it and take it elsewhere, right? So going to work, which I'm not saying that that's a job that you might want to go and be super excited about. If you do, yay, that's great. But if that was your job, collecting the trash, and every time you went to work, you were thinking, I will never get it all done. I will never collect it all. That thought would not serve you in any way. When it comes to my life, I have this thought come up in many different areas. The thought that I'll never get it all done. And so since I'm probably speaking to a lot of teachers, I want to take a second to say, I know the way that I phrased that may sound awful to some of you. You would say, I'll never finish that task, or I'll never accomplish everything I wanted to. But you wouldn't use the word done. But this is how the thought comes up in my head, so I'm just going to go with it. So the first area that I think that this comes up in my life would be laundry. And when I think this thought, I feel so much dread. I'll never get it all done. There's always laundry. People are always wearing clothes. I will always have to do laundry, and I'll never get it all done. In this case, that thought is actually true, right? So lots of times in the things that we've talked about in the past, we can challenge our thoughts when they don't serve us and think, is that really true? And then think of ways that it's not true. But the fact that our laundry is never going to be completely finished is a true thought, right? So unless you're planning on going to join some nudist colony, and even there, you're probably going to sleep on sheets, right? So even in that situation, your laundry's never going to be done. So telling yourself that every day or every laundry day, it just literally produces suffering that is unnecessary. At school, an area that I do this is usually with grading papers and data entry. Okay, so every time that I go to school and I teach something and I assess the students, there is something that I either need to provide feedback for or give a grade. So when I think the thought, I will never be done grading these papers, I will never be done planning these lessons, those thoughts don't make me want to do those things, and they don't feel good. So if I challenge that thought, though, about school and grading, I can find ways that that's not 100% true. So at the end of every marking period, or every 9 weeks is our marking period, we get a fresh start, right? So the grades that I put in at each marking period go on the report card, and after that, I start over. So there really is a point where I could say, for this 9 weeks, or for this semester, for this marking period, my grades are finished. I'm not adding any more to them. There is a point where I can, draw a line in the sand and say, I finished this. So I can reframe that in my mind and think, I will finish the grades for this marking period by this day, instead of this is just something that I will never get done. Another time that I can challenge that thought is summer. So as a teacher, of course, there are professional developments that I do over the summer and different things. But one thing that I'm not doing in the summertime is grading papers. So really telling myself I'll never be done grading isn't actually a true thought. Since we know that these thoughts are going to come up, and we know that it may present itself in different areas of our lives, some areas that will be true and some areas where it will be untrue, how do we deal with this thought? What do we do with it when it arises? From my research, coaching, and just my own work on myself, I've determined that there are two choices that we have. We can either try to think as little as possible about these tasks. So really, I don't have to think much about laundry at all, right? I just have to do it. I have one student who particularly gets anxious about any independent writing task. It makes him want to cry. He gets all worked up about it, and he has all of these thoughts. I can't. And so when he has those thoughts about that task, I come over to him and we have a little pep talk, but before he starts working, I press like I'm pressing a button on his shoulder, and I'm like, you are, just call him John. You are Robot John. You don't have to think about this task. You just have to do it. So we can choose to do the same thing about laundry or planning. We can choose that we are just going to do the thing and we are not going to think that much about it. The other thing that we can do, and I've sort of discussed in previous podcasts, is that we can find ways to make it fun or make it desirable, to decrease the negative thoughts and increase our positive thoughts. So if I know when it's time to do laundry that I'm going to have my favorite drink and some music playing, and it is going to be just a time for me to relax while I just so happen to be doing laundry, I'm going to want to do that so much more. So changing these thoughts to different ones, or just trying to turn off our thoughts and accomplish the thing that we know that we have to do anyway, is going to be so much more helpful than letting that thought ruminate. I will never be done. I can't believe I have to do this. I will never be done. So I said we have 2 options. We actually sort of have 3. Another thing that you can do is try to figure out a different thought that you want to have instead, or a way that you could change that thought to serve you. So instead of I will never finish my laundry, you could think I will finish 2 loads by Friday, and that hamper will finally be empty. Or I really have a lot of clothes. Maybe I'll donate some to Goodwill and lighten my load so I don't have as many to wash next time. So finding solutions instead of focusing just on the problem. I hope that you find these tips to be useful and something that you can implement quickly in your own life. If this didn't really apply to you and you don't really have that thought, or you've already figured out a way to just do the things without stressing or creating drama in your mind about them, I'm so glad. I would love to still have you as a part of our community, because you will be a model for what's possible for the rest of us. But if you do have drama about grading and it's just not related to the fact that you'll never get it done, but just the fact that you have so much and you don't have enough time, our next episode will be helpful with that. So in our next episode, we're going to be talking about strategies to deal with things that are repetitive in our career. So the planning, the grading, the things that aren't going away, but we also have a hard time fitting into our schedules. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, join us in episode 8 of the podcast. I'm so glad you joined me today. Come back next time and have a great week. Bye-bye.